How are you doing, you wonderful nerds? Scott here. What is this, a video on NerdSync Sidekick? I didn't even know those existed. They do. And basically, I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on Action Comics number 987 because some media outlets had a little bit of a field day with that one. And it happened like 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry I'm late, but I was traveling for my grandfather's funeral. A lot of you guys know this. So I didn't really have a chance to record things there. And in fact, I wrote a whole video about Superman and immigration. Is he an illegal immigrant? Is he a U.S. citizen? That's on our main channel, NerdSync, probably link in the description or on screen, end card, something, who knows. But in the process of writing that video actually evolved into what it is right now. In the process, though, I wrote basically just a whole response to that comic book, my thoughts and feelings, and none of it made it into that episode. I'm sure my ideas and my biases definitely made it into that episode, but none of the stuff that I actually wrote down. So what I want to do with this video is kind of just tell you guys what I think. So first and foremost, we should recap. If you didn't read the comic book, all you really need to know, all right, so basically there's disasters going on all over the world, and Superman has to rush or wants to go rush and try to save everyone. But the idea of the comic book is there's too much happening that not even Superman could save everyone. And that premise alone is awesome. That's the kind of Superman story that I love. I love when they test Superman's ability. They don't test his strength, right? They don't even test his wits. They just test his willpower to want to be the best hero, to want to save everyone, and they put him in a scenario where he can't. And that sort of stuff I absolutely love. So in that regard, I really do love this comic book. But one of the things, the very first thing that happens, and all of this stuff happens simultaneously. So there's like people who are hunting, like poaching rhinos, right? There are people who are raiding villages to steal medicine from sick people. There are oil tankers that are spilling into the ocean. There's, the big one that everyone lost their mind over is there is a guy, a worker, I guess a factory worker, typical American flag bandana wearing, person. He loses his job to presumably immigrants and presumably, again, illegal immigrants. We're going to get into that in a little bit. And so he takes a gun to the factory to shoot them all, saying, basically, they took our jobs, I'm going to kill them. But Superman swoops in and stops the bullets and apprehends the dude. No, doesn't actually really apprehend the dude. He leaves everyone with the police, everyone, including the immigrants who may or may not be illegal. And this is a huge part of it. This is actually the part that I think is like the big thing, is that Superman swooped in to save illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, but we don't actually know as readers if they are illegal immigrants. The only person who said they're illegal was someone who was trying to instigate the shooter into taking action and to go kill them. They could be totally legal U.S. citizens, for all we as the readers know. Kind of a biased source. Don't really trust that. But you know what? If we do want to assume that they are illegal, which we shouldn't, again, but if we do want to assume that, then I think the big problem, as I kind of touched on in the NerdSync video, is that you have Superman jumping in between someone who's literally wearing an American flag and then a group of people who are immigrants. And so he's coming in between the two sides of his own personality as Superman, as someone who is like the ultimate foreigner, but again, raised in the Midwestern heartland in Kansas. How could you be more American than that? So he's both super foreign, super American, and he's picking a side in that conflict, right? And that's the biggest problem I think people see with it, is not the fact that Superman would have the audacity to save people who are being shot at. Of course he would. But I think the problem people have is that Superman isn't standing up for the American side. He's standing up for the immigrant side. And again, they could be Americans. So he could still be standing up for the American side, just the people being shot at. So I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around that other argument of why people are upset about this comic book. Because again, I really liked it. Just for the whole premise of Superman trying to save everyone and not being able to. But yeah, I don't know. I think a big part of it is a big argument that I've been hearing is that Superman swooped in and only put a stop to one crime. Again, if we assume that the immigrants are illegal, we shouldn't, but if we do, then we see Superman swooping in to stop one crime, the shooting, and not putting a stop to the other, which would be people there illegally, people in America illegally. My problem with that is Superman has always shown a bias for what laws he thinks are more important than others. I mean, all crimes are not equal, right? If they were, there would be one punishment for everything. But there isn't. Punishment is, different depending on what crime you commit. So Superman has always seen different crimes as more important than others, or more crucial, more vital, more critical than others. For example, and I know this is going to be people are going to hate this, me even bringing it up, because it's such a cop-out sort of dumb argument. But hear me out. Superman commits crimes all the time, from property damage, airspace violations. Even in this same comic book, he landed in other countries without going through customs, which is, kind of a no-no. So those are all technical crimes that Superman is committing, but it's for what he sees is, the greater good of saving everyone at the end of the day. So I don't think Superman is the kind of character who sees all crimes as, if you commit any crime, I will make sure that you pay for it. And especially in the context of him having to go around the world to try and stop all these global disasters from happening, he didn't even bother to properly apprehend the shooter. I think that kind of goes unsaid a lot. He just leaves everyone with the police, right? He leaves the shooter, he leaves the immigrants who may or may not be illegal, with the police, and he just says, take care of it. That's kind of his role. His role is to swoop in, make sure people don't die, and then leave the rest to the proper authorities. Whether the cops handle it, that's their whole thing. It's no longer in Superman's hands. So I don't know. Those are just kind of my thoughts. Some arguments I've been seeing. Again, I don't super understand. I mean, I kind of understand why people are upset about it. Again, I think it's this idea of Superman being literally in the middle of two representations of who he is and picking a side. And I think that angers people a little bit, that he chose the side that maybe they think they wouldn't have chosen, So in my opinion, Superman originally debuted as a champion of the oppressed. When you're being held at gunpoint, I feel like you're the oppressed one in that scenario. So it makes sense for him to swoop in. I also think that the whole thing of Superman standing up for truth, justice, and the American way, I think this has been said countless times, even by me sometimes. The American way part was added later. Superman was created for truth and justice, and in that moment, again, it makes more sense for the character to stand up for justice and again, save people from being shot at. So, and then of course leaving all of everyone in that whole scenario to the proper authorities to deal with. So, I don't know. Like I said, I really enjoyed that issue. If you haven't seen our full video about is Superman an immigrant or an illegal immigrant, or maybe even is he an immigrant at all? A lot of questions, a lot of answers, maybe not answers that are very I don't know. It's complicated. It's a complicated subject, basically. But if you like this video, you want to go check out that one. You haven't checked out that one, there'll be a link in the description or at the end card. Probably on either side of my face here. My cat is throwing up behind me. I don't know if you could hear it. Sparta. He's in the doorway throwing up. I'll shield you from that. But let me know your thoughts about this comic in the comments below. I know that I'm 2 weeks late on this one. Again, I was traveling. Forgive me. But at least hey, you have another video today to watch. So thank you guys so much for watching me rant through this whole thing. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.